So if there's anyone who knows the importance of being able to escape your limits, it's today's guest. From starting out as a personal trainer, he's built a following close to 4 million people through training and hard work before putting his name on the line in the boxing ring and turning pro at 40 years old. This vegan entrepreneur is more than just about muscle. Prepare yourself for a lesson in motivation to achieve beyond what you think is possible from the CEO of IMSOALPHA and Ambrosia Nutraceuticals and the Alpha Academy. Power bodybuilder and professional boxer, Mr. Mike Rashid. Welcome to the Escape Your Limits podcast, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Costa Mesa.
So, Mike, tell us about this bench press. I was watching on YouTube, and I'm a avid trainer myself, but that's some serious weight.
So basically, that was called the Iron Marathon.
Right.
So the whole thing with that is an accumulation of 210 reps. So what you do is you rack the bar. Yeah. 1 rep, rack it. 2 reps, rack it. So each time you rack it is a set, essentially, right? But you're not taking a break. Right. You're just racking it and taking it right back off. Right. And it gets harder every time. It's just a test of will, really, because you get to a point to where your body is like, when you get to like 6 or 7, or me, when I got to about 6 or 7, it felt like there's no way I can keep doing this. Yeah. But it's like I said I was gonna do it, I gotta do it. Yeah. So I had done before that video that you saw. I've done it a few times, but the first time CT Fletcher and I, we did it together. We raced, but it was lighter. It was 135 pounds, so 1 plate on each side. Then after that, it was the same weight, the 225. But Rob and I would do it, and we take turns. Like I would go, he would go. Yeah. So I had a little break. So I didn't know how hard it was doing it by myself until that first video. Oh my God, it was crazy. So my body was cramping up everywhere, because people don't realize when you're doing bench press in a certain capacity, any real big lift, any compound lift, you're recruiting muscle from all over your body, even stabilizing your body, even your feet position, if you're positioned properly, planting them in the floor, keeping your glutes tight. People don't realize that, right? So like my entire body cramped up at some point during that whole workout. So it was difficult, and it was a gut check. I like to do gut checks, right? So that's why you'll see over the years of me being on YouTube, is often I would do something crazy like that, just for a gut check, just to make sure I got it.
So you call them gut checks, and I've just looking and reading up about you. You seem to have this sort of thing where you want to put yourself out on the line. You want to kind of, whether it's in business, whether it's physically or mentally, you seem to kind of have this, and not that you probably need to do in a lot of cases, because you've been very successful in what you've done, but you kind of have this interest to kind of push yourself out there. Why do you do that?
I do feel like I need to do it to an extent. It's like some people look at me as somewhat of a leader or whatever. So I gotta qualify myself constantly in being that. When I was a personal trainer, I had 3 certifications. I only needed 1. But that was me just trying to show that, look, I'm in this. So even in this world, this weird social media, celebrity world that we're all in, it's like, a lot of my peers are very popular because they're talking a lot and the things that they say. And I don't ever want to be that guy that just talks a lot. You know what I mean? So I like to, and just the way I'm wired, I need to know that I'm good. And I take it back to like, I think of a lot of things in a sense of like what we are, right? We're essentially animals, but we live in a civilized world, kind of, and we have, self-awareness, and, we have a consciousness, and we have empathy and emotional intelligence and all these things that we don't think animals have, right? So, but we're animals. And in the animal world is always a hierarchy, right? It's always like, that's why, like, if you think of like pyramids, they're really interesting because, it's a foundation and then it's the top, right? And it's like that top point is like that leader or that point of enlightenment or whatever it may be. But we're always trying to be the top of the food chain, the boss, whatever. So, I think that it's in men's best interest to always achieve to be that top figure in their own world, in their family, it's just important, right? So that's just me and my little ecosystem always trying to qualify myself. It's not like we're hunter-gatherers and we have to fight off fellow tribesmen for, you know, our land and our women and our, you know what I mean? So it's like, we still have that energy in us. So I got to get it out some way. I got to articulate it in a constructive way, right? Because it's still in me, you know? And I feel like a lot of people is like that. That's why people are uptight sometimes. Like, I boxed all my life, right? And as a kid, I didn't get into a bunch of fights. Probably because I was in the boxing gym, getting that energy out, getting that, you know, growing into a man and expressing it in the gym. I wasn't getting into fights at school. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you think that's like, there's obviously some people who are not built like you, they're not, you know, physically they're not, I suppose, top of the tree. But do you think that that's a mental exercise that people can do? So regardless of whether you're big or small or whatever, but challenging yourself to be able to do something.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I am built the way that I'm built because of things that I've done over the years. Like, I was a skinny kid, you know what I mean? I'm barely 6 foot. I'm 225 right now, or 220, I'm sorry. And I gotta eat a lot to stay that way, right? There's guys, like, especially in my division in boxing, heavyweights, the average is 6'5", 250. They tower me, right? So there's a lot of guys that say I'm small to a lot of people. Right. So I don't think it's the physical size. I think it can be somewhat of a factor in this big game of life, right? But I feel like it's a lot of things that a person wears, right? A lot of ineffable characteristics and qualities that we attain over our years of experience, of going through things, of going through tests, passing, failing, whatever, and who we become, you know? So anybody can be, you know, that top of the food chain. I don't think the size matters. Now, on a very carnal, you know, reptilian brain level, yeah, the big fish take small fish, you know what I mean? Big bank takes little bank. So that's always there. That's always a factor. But we could mitigate that by, like, my thing, like, growing up has always been, I wanted to be the strongest dude ever, right? So, you know, most of my life, I trained in that capacity. And at any given time, I was always the strongest or one of the strongest dudes in any gym at any given time, regardless of my size. You know what I'm saying? So that was just me really wanting to be, I can't just change my anatomy, right? I can't just grow taller and get bigger, but I can push myself to pass what they say is the limits to be able to perform or be as big as anybody else. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I've listened to you talking about your training regime and how you know, when you're tired, when you're finished at the end, that's when you kind of go crazy and sort of really try to do some mad stuff. Yeah. Do you think that's, you know, again, people are listening to this, whether you're starting your business career or a trainer at the beginning, or just wanting to succeed in any field, do you think that mentality of constantly saying, well, how can I put myself outside of the comfort zone is a trait that's helped you be successful through various ups and downs?
100%. My father, you know, he was my first trainer in boxing, and my father will always say, you got to do what they not doing. You know what I mean? You never know what your opponents are not doing, but, you know, you can pretty much assume that they're not doing this, they're not doing that. Like, he had me jogging with heavy boots on, sprinting in the sand. Like, that's a thing now, but I was doing that as a kid, sand interval sprints and all of that stuff. So my mind has always been geared towards, I need the edge. And the only way I can get an edge is doing what they're not gonna do, what they're not willing to do. And I do that even to this day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Me turning pro as a boxer at 40, no one's gonna do that.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for the moment. So I watched that when you announced the fight, and at the time I was thinking, well, you know, this guy has, you know, 4 million people that are watching him. That's more than a lot of sort of musicians and people on TV, and the world's different to probably what it was 10 years ago. So you got a huge following, you got a huge influence, and I guess you didn't, you know, it weren't just that you had some mates turning up at a boxing fight and watching it. You had millions of people following this. So I guess what was it like mentally to basically put yourself on the line and risk losing that fight, because it could have happened.
It could have happened.
And how that would have affected everything that you stood for. You know, what were you thinking?
You know, I always say that I look forward to, I like going around a corner seeing what's there. Like, you don't know what's there, but let's go. I didn't know what would have happened, win or lose, right? And yeah, the idea of losing is terrifying, you know? But forget about losing. In boxing, the way you lose is going to be painful, right? So, you know, it was a huge risk. But the thing is, I gave my word to my son that I was going to do it. So I can't. It's a no. When I give my word, especially to my kids, I'm there. I'm done. I'm doing it. So, and and I didn't talk about it throughout the preparation for the fight, but I had many injuries because my body wasn't used to those movements anymore. Right, so I was injuring myself left and right. You know, I couldn't throw a jab most of the fight, most of the training for the fight, right? Because I had such bad tendonitis in my elbow. So, but I was like, you know what? I said I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And I didn't want to tell certain people who really care about me, because they would have did everything they could to stop me from doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just kept it to myself, and like, whatever happens, happens. So that. All right, I'm gonna take it back to our hunter-gatherer days or whatever. So we used to have to go out when we were hungry, and if we're not foraging, we're tracking our prey, stalking it, tracking it, capturing it, and bringing it back. It's dangerous, right? We don't have that anymore, right? So it's like we don't have all of those dangers in our life anymore. So, but how do we articulate that energy that we just naturally have? Here it is. This is a way for me, right? So, but not only that, that was part of it. I feel like something I felt like I needed to do. That was one thing. Another thing is I was in the process of starting a promotion company in boxing and possibly managing a couple boxers. Like, I know a lot of guys in the sport, and I was doing it for training, just to get myself in shape. And I have a hard time. Like, one thing I hate is people like in gyms that look like a world beater on a heavy bag. But I'm like, bro, are you fighting anybody? Like, that's cool, but not. And it's okay if you just want to do that to work out. But there's guys that really carry this tough guy thing because they can beat a bag up. So I didn't want to appear to be that guy. That was another thing.
So being authentic.
Being authentic. I have a hard time being a part of something. Just kinda. I got to be all the way in. And I absolutely love boxing, and it killed me when I stopped boxing back in 2000. I couldn't watch boxing for like 3 years, right? Because it would be people I knew that was making it, and I was just like, man, so mad at myself. So it was something that I felt like I needed to do. I mean, my book of life ain't over yet, but that chapter needs to be there. I'm literally writing history for myself and my family, and I want to do things to make my kids proud, right? And to make my grandkids say, yo, my granddad was cool, look at this. You know what I'm saying? So, it was something I felt like I needed to do. And also teaching my sons accountability, character, and when you say you're gonna do something, you do it, And hard work, showing them hard work. Like, your dad don't have to do this. I don't have to get out of my nice California king-size bed and take off my robe and go out in the cold and jog. I don't have to do this. So, but I wanted to show them, because they're born into, I guess, privilege. I wasn't. So it's a certain type of grittiness that they'd never experienced. So I got to teach them that. You know what I mean? And they seen it firsthand. Yeah. So
you're being a role model, I guess.
Yeah,
at the same time.
And also for people who look up to me out, on social media or whatever, because these people allow me to afford a decent life. So I feel it's best for me to always give them content or information that's beneficial to them. Yeah. So me being a man of my word, no matter how scary it is, I think is beneficial to these guys versus me just giving a bunch of rhetoric, just talking and sounding good and motivating them with words. It's better to motivate people with action. I know I learn from watching people. I hear stuff all the time. I'm just always like, okay, what do you do though? You know, like there's certain famous motivational speakers that I'm like, yeah, this sounds amazing, but what did he do before? Like, what does he do? You know, oh, he just talks. Like, okay, that's cool. It's you know. So I just always want to be that authentic guy and that, you know, be able to give real, oh, he said this and the third. What does he do? Okay, he does this and this and this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, no, I think that's very sort of brave, to be honest, and courageous to, when you're in that position, you don't really need to do it, because it wasn't like you were trying to build a following.
Right.
You're kind of already there, and I suppose you had more to lose than you had to gain in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I'm not gonna lie, man, I wasn't nervous at all because I was training, like I had taken the steps to really make sure I was confident to go out there on a pro level and do what I needed to do. But the day before, the day of the fight, all that, where's the confidence? It just, I got really nervous, you know what I mean?
Is it right, but the opponent who you was training to fight changed and someone else stepped in at the last minute?
And that's just never good.
So how did you feel when you suddenly, I guess you must have sort of knew who you were fighting?
Yeah, I had, I felt, I didn't like it, you know, this is not a big level fight, so, and I'm not some big level fighter, so it's not like I call any shots. You know, so I just had to take what they can give me, and you know, I had to do it. But it's not ideal to go in there and fighting somebody you have no idea who you're fighting. And I couldn't find any tape on this guy, which was like driving me crazy. But it worked out though. I still went out there, like once I managed the nerves the day of, I just, you know, I was ready. Yeah. You know, I was seeing red. I'm showing my teeth. Like I'm just in kill mode the whole time until afterwards, and then it was such a relief, and it was just a good feeling. Like all that training for them 58 seconds was worth it.
Yeah. And I guess it's like life already as well. You know, you kind of have a plan, or in business, and you think it's going to go away, and at the last minute somebody changes the plan, and you got to quickly respond.
That's interesting you bring that up, because I always talk about that. We had a meeting earlier today, and you know, the guy, you know, he wanted to walk me and my partners into a certain, like, how do you see this going? Like, I said, I don't ever do that, because you get locked into one thing, and it usually is not going to go that way, you know? So I like to stay open-minded about how things can go, and not be married to one idea, you know? So, yeah, but you're right. In life, it usually does not go the way that you plan it to go, you know? But the bottom line should be how you plan it.
Yeah. The goal. Yeah. So take us back a little bit. What was your upbringing like? Were you good at school? You know, tell us where Mike started off.
It was a very interesting childhood. Yeah, I was always like valedictorian, like top of my class. I was a nerdy kid, you know. I lived a life of privilege for part of my childhood. My mother was married to the biggest drug dealer in New York City. So I was a rich kid. I'm talking about a mansion in Long Island, 2 houses in Brooklyn. We owned a grocery store. Oh, wow. You know, it was crazy, but that doesn't last, of course. He ended up getting murdered. Oh. So everything went down.
Your father was that? Or?
No, my father, we'll get to that a little bit later. But the guy got murdered, so everything went downhill fast, like, right? So then it was a normal Brooklyn experience. You know, Brooklyn back then in the 80s was a very rough place. Like Brooklyn, you know, you have the 5 boroughs of New York City, and Brooklyn was always known for like the rough. You go there, you're gonna get beat up. You know what I mean? Just gunshots every night. It was crazy, like a war zone, and it was normal, you know? So it's so cool, it's not like that anymore. It's so weird, but anyway. That was, so I experienced that, and then until, you know, my mother just hit rock bottom, and she went down south to Florida to reorganize her life, and I stayed with my grandparents in Canarsie, another section of Brooklyn, and that was just like probably the best part of my childhood, if not life. Like, it was just amazing, you know? And, you know, I was into like science, and, you know, I played piano, I tap danced, like I was into all of that stuff as a kid, you know? And then boxing, and I was always like into athletics and sports. And, you know, I was always the skinny guy. So, you know, I tended to do the things that for speed and all of that. Like I didn't really like football or, so, it was a good childhood, even though I seen things that I shouldn't have seen as a child, and I give my mother a lot of credit because she still sheltered me from a lot of things that a lot of kids didn't get sheltered from, they saw, especially in New York City. New York City is a different place. It's way overpopulated. So you got every type of personality. You have every culture in the world in that city in its purest too, It's not like Taco Bell Mexicans. It's like every culture in its purest, you know what I'm saying? And, but it's a lot of competition for everything. So it's a lot of trickery, it's a lot of deceit, deception, a lot of, crime, back then. I'm not sure how it is now because when I go now, it's just for short periods of time. But it was a hard, New York, when you're born in New York, you always move out. Like people get older and go down south or go out west. Because this is rough living, but it's an amazing city, you know what I mean? So my child was very dynamic and very interesting. It was like a movie, so I've been through a lot, but overall it was good. What
from your childhood then sort of shaped you to want to, be a leader and share things or ideas with people? Because it sounds like that wasn't typical of your background, in terms of what was your father? Was your father much in your life at that time?
Yeah, my father had dealt with a lot of issues that he had to straighten out, and then when he was straightening out with everything, he pumped a lot of wisdom in me.
Right.
My father taught me how to be a man. He taught me to give firm handshakes and eye contact, and your word is your bond, and stuff like that. So, my father's my best friend to this day. He's just a guy's guy, and it's not like tough guy. It's like he's just a smooth, smart, intellectual dude, and I owe a lot to my father.
And is he the person who sort of, I guess, inspired you to do what you're doing today? Because you kind of, I guess you're not really in terms of business, you're not selling things, although that's you're a brand and there's a message behind what you're doing, and you're not just been doing this for a few years, you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. I think my father and I are different. We're the same in a lot of ways, but we're also different in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of things that led me to where I am now is just a cultivation of just my own personal experiences, So, I got out in the world. I never had fear of anything, of experiencing anything, traveling when I was young, being in different places. So I just developed, and I've always been a lone guy, a loner. So, me being a leader or this or that, it wasn't anything I ever sought out to do. It's just how it always had been, I was always different, like everybody at school played basketball or football. I was boxing, and that wasn't at school. So the boxers at school was maybe 5 of us, you know what I'm saying? When everybody else had their group things, we were different. And I just never, people like me. Like, it's weird because usually like popular kids are not cool when they grow up, right? But I was popular, not that I was trying to be, just people just took a liking to me, and it worked out as an adult too, luckily. But I was just different because I would have friends, we'd be in school, even, like junior high, and I remember one of my friends was reading in class, and I was embarrassed for him because he couldn't read that good. So that was like what I was around, but I was like, the smart kid, you know what I'm saying? So it was just very interesting. But what got me to where I am is just, I feel like it's a cultivation of just the things that I've experienced and have had interest in all my life. I've always had interest,
So was personal training the first thing that you sort of moved into then? Was that like when you finished school, you wanted to get into fitness and did that?
It was a lot of things in between, but when I started getting serious with me being an adult, it was personal training, you know? When I let go a lot of grandiose ideas of, I can be a star at this or that, or when I really grew up, it was personal training.
And how old were you when you sort of made that decision?
28, 29.
Oh, okay. Similar to me, actually. Yeah. Spend a few years drifting.
Exactly, right. And I think that's good. You gotta go through that to know what not to go back to, right? So yeah, that's when everything started clicking, you know.
Right. So
yeah.
you started so you decided you wanted to be a personal trainer, and by the sound of things, you're pretty good at that. What?
Yeah, I used to work for a corporate gym, and I didn't know anything about the business of personal training, but I learned it there, and you know, I gave myself a year to do this and then go independent, and that's exactly what I did. So a year later, I took all my clients, like 90% of them came with me, and the gym was further from the area we were in, so it was pretty cool that they actually was willing to travel to stay with me. And as an independent trainer, you know, I did well for myself, and it got to the point to where I physically couldn't take anybody else.
What did you do why were you such a good, because there's thousands of trainers, and even back then, you know, there was a lot.
I'm sure you've seen it. You see the trainers on their phone while their clients doing stuff, and you know, these guys, a lot of people, and not all trainers, there's some good trainers out there, but you know, me, I take pride in what I do, you know, and I knew how to get somebody in shape, and I'm obsessed with that. So if you came to me and, you know, we've been working and we're getting progress, and here's a month that you just can't afford it, you got to take a break, I'm like, no, just keep coming, don't worry about it. So I was that guy. I'm calling them, checking on them, you know, but I also would like have Christmas parties with my clients. Like it was like family. Like I cared about them all. We became good friends, we developed really good rapport. And the fact that I was all in with them, you know, it was more than just training them. We had really good relationships. You know, I mean, I've had people, and I really gravitated towards people who really needed it versus somebody just wanted to look hot for the summer. You know, I wasn't interested in that. So, like in the beginning, I would take anybody I could, right? So, but I was training blind people, old people, obese people, like people that really needed it. And I took a lot of pride in that because I seen how impactful in a positive way that personal training can be for somebody. You know, it can be a waste of money or it can be very empowering. And I seen the confidence that people will have when they're in shape. Like, I mean, I had a lady, her name is Jane, shout out to Jane. And she came to me, she's from the UK. Also, she came to me because she needed to lose weight to have gastric bypass, right? So I'm like, all right. And I was like, there's no hope in my head. I mean, her knees concaved in and, you know, her feet would like go inward, like she's never been in shape, you know. And we lost over 100 pounds. And she looked like a normal fit, hot fit chick at the end of it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, this is amazing. Never needed the surgery, you know, so, and she started dating and she's having a life, and I thought that was cool. I like that. So, you know, it was just, and I got some lifelong friends from that era of my life. So it was just cool.
So it's beyond, I guess for you, from what I'm understanding then, you obviously had the business of being a personal trainer, but it was really about developing relationships with these people, as opposed to just the business.
And that relationship comes from giving them 1,000,000%. Now I'm gonna say this to those listening, aspiring to be great at whatever they do. I sacrificed my social life tremendously because of it, because I was giving work so much, giving them so much. Every time somebody came in, I'm giving them 100%. I had nothing to give, like a girl I was dating, or, you know, I would come home like completely empty, like drained, you know? So it's like, I don't know how to be social anymore, like to have a good time. I'm always thinking about business and work, and you know, it is what it is. I have responsibilities. I have people that I take care of. I have children. I have parents.
Do you think that's
so I'm okay with that, you know, but it is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be the life of the party and the life of the business. You know what I'm saying? It just don't go hand in hand.
So people who want to, I guess, who are nowhere and want to get somewhere, are you saying you kind of got to put that work in? And
you got to sacrifice.
You
you know, short-term fun, you know. I mean, I can take a vacation out the country whenever I want to, but or do I want to go to Taco Tuesday every Tuesday? You know what I'm saying? It's a trade-off, you know. And there's when I was starting to get really busy and the training was taking off, there's a lot of friends that I had at that time. We're still friends to this day, but we just never see each other. That I just kind of separated myself from just naturally because I wasn't doing the things that they were doing. I couldn't, because I got to be up at 5 at the gym. You know what I'm saying? So it's a trade-off.
How did you scale? I guess you got to a point where you couldn't take any more clients. What did you do then to?
So at that point, my kids, at this point I was living here in California and my kids were in Arizona, so they would come see me. And it happened one Christmas break, because they would come see me and I would hire a nanny and still be at work every day, all day. So I said, I'm not doing that anymore. So what I did was I said, all right, I'll work from 5 a.m. to I think it was 10 or 11. I told everybody, I said, y'all can all come in whenever y'all can in between that time. We'll make it work. But I'm not training anybody after that while my kids are in town. So they all was coming in. So, it developed into what I call semi-private training. So it might be 4 people at 5, then 2 more people come at 5:30. People would stagger in. And I liked it because it kept my brain thinking. I'm like, okay, boom, boom, boom. Like, that was easier than one-on-one. Right. One-on-one can be boring. It's like, you know what I mean? And they would hold each other accountable. They would kind of compete against each other. It rose the morale, and it was just better for everybody. And they ended up liking it. So after that, it never went back to, they all still came in at those times. Now, as that went on for a little longer, I had already started other businesses and had YouTube going and other things going that was generating income. So I just, people at this point knew who I was and wanted to come train with me.
And just on that YouTube, because that you were probably one of the early people to kind of get in on that.
No.
You weren't?
No, the early people were like Chris Jones, even before him, the Hodge twins. There were people that's been on it. They like 06, really? 05, 04. But I feel like my wave, my class is, after us, is kind of bad for the new people because it's so saturated now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So what year did you sort of jump on then?
12. I mean, right. I was doing it in 11, but it was just my clients. I was posting their videos and stuff like their progress and stuff. Right. But I was never trying to grow a YouTube channel. It just happened, So 2012 is when YouTube took off for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Because you've been hugely successful in that area. What do you think? Was it timing, or was it something that you consciously did to develop that?
Nah, I didn't consciously do it. It was just something that was so different. Right. So unique. We had a nice formula, and it was different than the other stuff that was out there. It was refreshing, I guess.
And what if people are looking to, a lot of people are attempting to build their businesses in that world now? What are some of the things that you would say to people that they should think about in order to kind of break out or come up with something a bit different?
Now, I don't think fitness YouTube pages are viable. Right. Even though I'm somewhat of a fitness page, but if you really look at my channel, it's a lot of other stuff. Like, you barely see workouts anymore on there. Even though some people want it, but there's a lot more people that don't care about that. Like, it's only so many times you can watch somebody do a bench press. It's inspiring for a minute if they're really killing it, but then after a while it's like, all right. So think outside the box and think about, why should somebody tune in whenever you post, every week or every other day to watch your video? Like, would you tune in to see you know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of information are you putting out, or content are you putting out there that's going to make people want to keep coming to check for you and share this to somebody else? Is it funny? Is it, are you doing something over the top and entertaining? Is it teaching them something? Is it informative? It's got to be something there, And I don't not only am I a participant and a practitioner, but I study it, and I'm a fan of a lot of different channels. And I don't care what you do. If you're a couch maker, that stuff is interesting to other couch makers. It may be interesting to people that never knew that was a thing. You know what I'm saying? So I see so many successful channels of people just showing what they do. All right, this is how I Photoshop. There's people that have big channels teaching you how to Photoshop. I'm like, how much can you teach? But it don't matter what you do. It's an audience for you on YouTube. That's a beautiful thing about it. I tell people all the time, like, get on YouTube. People, I got to get this kind of camera. Like, no, you don't. You use your phone. Yeah. I mean, I started out with the camera on my computer. It was blurry. It's not HD. It don't matter. The content is king. You know what I mean? Yeah, if it looks good, that's cool. But you can have beautiful content with no substance that people don't care about. but you'll never have beautiful content with no substance and it catches on like wildfire. Right. You can have shitty video and presentation, but powerful content, you can go viral.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the content is the main thing. And even if it's something like in your mundane everyday life, I don't care. You could be an accountant talking about, I see these channels. Like that's all I watch is YouTube. I'm obsessed with it.
How much time do you spend thinking about your, like working it yourself and thinking about what you're going to do? Is that a big part of your business week?
YouTube?
Oh yeah, just generally, I guess YouTube and videos on.
Yeah, no, I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking. I just do it as it comes, because that's how I've always done it. There's other way more organized channels, and I appreciate those channels a lot. Mine has never been like organized like that. It's just when I got it, I throw it out there. Right. But a consistent schedule is the best, because I like those channels. I know I can count on every day or every other day or every Wednesday that they're gonna have something. Right. So that's always the best. And I'm actually thinking about a new format to get something very consistent now, because I appreciate those kind of channels, and those kind of channels just do a lot better.
Right.
There is no fitness. The biggest channels on YouTube, fitness is not even near that equation. Not even near.
Really?
Yeah.
And what about on the other social media channels like Instagram? You're obviously big and you're there. Is that, do you spend a lot of time, kind of posting and working on that, or do you have someone who does it for you now?
No, I mean, I do it. I have a team. I have my assistant will create the graphics for, different assets for like slide ups and stuff like that for if I need people to do some kind of call to action. Other than that, I just get on there and say like, hey, I got this, is the last day of the sale, buy it now or forget about it, whatever, it's just me. So, I'm just direct to the people. It's easy, it's simple, and people respond to that pretty good. Yeah. So people like they want to be a part of us. Right. They want to have a personal connection to us, not just some graphic, not just the business thing. Right. You know what I'm saying? So even if it is business, like, if I do there's days like, I don't do many like sales or anything like that, but for my birthday I always do. And there's days that I'm like, everybody that snapped me their receipt, I'm gonna give you a personal message. And I'll spend hours, that's part of my job. That's part of, building that brand loyalty. He snapped me. And it's just like, hey man, I appreciate you. That goes so far to a lot of people,
So as a CEO then, I guess, in this new world, as a CEO then, you see your job as kind of being, we talk about the pyramid, but being at the top of that pyramid, but talking to... You
got to be the practitioner. Right. You got to, Now I have a team. So I have a really good marketing campaign on the back end side, with the retargeting and stuff like that I don't even understand that stuff. But it's going, and it's going great. Like I don't have to post about my product anymore. You know what I mean? I have enough assets that I've recorded and done already for them to do their magic. And that's beautiful, but there's no sales that never do as good as when I'm driving it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always gonna be in the driver's seat. I'm always gonna be out there in the front line waving a flag. That's how generals do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
And do you think that now where a lot of companies, in some cases, the CEOs are very much behind the scenes and behind these big brands and buildings, do you think now that the future is very much about these people being open and exposed and sharing?
Yeah, I do, because it's like that. It's not just me; it's other guys in my position as well. They're out there, waving the flag for their businesses. So. And it's cool. I think it's better. It's better to be able to listen to the CEO of a sports nutrition company talk about his perspective of why this product, why did he source it that way? Because the reality, the biggest companies is in sports nutrition, the guys that own these companies don't they don't care about supplements. They're just business guys bankrolling the company, getting fat literally. Off of everybody's, hard-earned money, and it's kind of weird to me that I'm like, why are you in this business?
Right.
So I think people appreciate seeing people that's in shape, that's in the gym, that's gym rats like them, you know, that's making it happen, you know. So yeah, I do think that's that's the now and the future. Yeah. You know, a lot of these companies are scrambling. Those big companies, listen, there's guys, CEOs of humongous companies that I'm making more money than, right? Because all they can do is pimp their products out wholesale to all of these, you know, to overseas, to people that don't really speak English. That's an easier sell, right? They can't sell anything in the States. So I'm getting all the direct to consumer money. That's my margins. I don't have to sell as much as these guys. I'm making way more money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, you got to do the math. Like when you see $50 million, $100 million company, we grossed $100 million last year. Okay, what did you net? You know what I mean? So, you know, my margins are, you know, this is a good business to be in.
If you're direct to the consumer, it is,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not knocking the wholesale world. Like I'm on that too, but the majority of it is direct to consumer, and that's ideal. Yeah. You know. So when I started, I didn't even care about wholesale. Like I'm not gonna go, to this day I don't have a sales team. I said, I don't wanna go asking anybody to carry my product. If they come, if they reach out, that means they wanna carry it. It's not gonna sit on shelves. And I'm gonna go support them. I'm gonna go to their stores, I'm gonna do videos over there. I'm gonna really support them, you know? Yeah. But I deal with the fans, the supporters, you know?
And in terms of strategy then, what in your case, and it'd be interested to see whether you think how it happened for you is something you'd recommend, but in terms of strategy, and you think what is a good one to adopt is build your personal brand. Like you started as a trainer, then you had a gym, then you've gone into nutrition. You know, would you say that kind of building that personal brand first, as opposed to saying, look, we've got a supplement and then trying to sell it? Which one of those two would you say is good if you had to start again?
Yeah, I would say that way. Not saying that it doesn't work the other way, because it's worked for many years for other companies, but today is different with social media. I just feel like it's more effective, you know, and that's your audience, it's your followers, those are your potential customers or clients. Yeah. So, you know, that's a no-brainer, you know. Oftentimes when people ask me, it's kind of annoying, but I have empathy in the fact that some people just really don't know, how do I start this business or that business? I'm like, because I never asked anybody. I just did my own research and just kept trying different things. But I'm like, let me see your social. I'm like, well, you gotta have people here. Who do you think is gonna buy your stuff? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think that's a fast track to being able to potentially start. And that's not even a guarantee. You know, I know people who's started companies or businesses with huge followings and couldn't sell anything, you know?
Yeah, so you gotta get the balance, I guess.
The way that you grow your audience is important. Now, there's you know, women, there's a lot of women who can get a big following because they're so beautiful, right? Yeah. And I understand that. Like, I follow a lot of women, I have no idea what they've ever said or what they're about, because it's good to look at, right? So that can be problematic when trying to start a business, because especially if you don't really engage with your audience, now all of a sudden you got something for sale, they're like, just keep putting on your bikini. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. So, and the same with some guys, it's just, they're so aesthetically pleasing. People, you know, the guys are following them because they want to look like that. Girls think they're hot, but they're not communicating, they're not talking to people. It's building no trust. So then they want to sell something, all of a sudden they're like, dude, just take your shirt off and shut up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be building and creating a community with building your base. Yeah.
And there was someone you interviewed, a lady, again, I can't remember her name, but I'd sort of, you know, looked into that, and there are some, you know, particularly on the female side, a lot of them are very strict about who follows them and the comments, and they're cleaning it out so that they are really, although they might look great, they're also very hard on, you know, they don't want the guys on there, they want the girls. Yeah, because you know, a lot of guys are going to go on the channels and they're commenting and that sort of thing. I can't remember her name now, but she was, purposely cutting them off because she said, like, this is my audience, this is a demographic, this is what I'm sharing, and so when I put something out there on whether it's a product or nutrition, I know the people who are going to come back are the right people.
Right.
And so I suppose, to your point, it's, if you've got 1 million people, unless they're, it's better probably to have 100,000 of the right people than a million.
Yeah, no, I used to, like, I've seen it. I don't really do the sponsor athletes anymore, but when I used to, the people who had the fewer followers would do the most in sales. But they were doing other things. They were working it. They were talking to people. They would have a YouTube channel where they would get maybe 400 or 500 views of video, but they're talking to the people in the comments, answering questions, giving these people value. So these people trusted them. So they're going to buy stuff from them. You know what I'm saying? So versus somebody, the numbers is deceiving. Big following is not necessary.
No.
It's not. 1,000 people following somebody, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
People forget about that. That's a lot of people. 1,000 people. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you have a really good relationship with these people, it's all relationships, right?
Yeah.
We may not know these people personally, but we're talking to them, we're communicating with them. It's all relationships. If they trust you, they're going to potentially patronize your services or your business.
Yeah. So you can build a great business even on a small following then, really, providing that you're
100%. And
I guess going back
I'm thinking of a few people right now I know is making, a couple million a year, don't have big followings, don't have huge followings, And
I suppose going back to your personal training days where you probably had a very small community of people in terms of how many you could train.
Right.
Just being able to communicate to people digitally, even 500 or 1,000 would have been more that you could see, but I suppose you can still have that relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are some of the, I know you've been through a lot of ups and downs, and obviously, you've had a gym when you were quite popular, and there's downsides of being a public figure on social media as well.
Oh yeah.
And I watched some of the videos of people where they're kind of, basically trying to destroy you on YouTube, trying to create these stories. What are some of the downsides of being as popular as you are?
The downside to being as popular as I am in my shoes is seeing how ugly humans can be. It's fascinating. Like some of these people, I'm like, really? Wow. You have to resort to that for people to pay attention to you? That's unfortunate, I feel bad for those people. It doesn't even make me angry. It's just, I'm gonna tell you why it doesn't make me angry. Because I would never in a million years resort to behavior like that, for one. For two, I know for a fact, and this is not any tough guy stuff, I know for a fact that in my presence, these guys would be wanting to shake my hand, want to take a selfie,
Are these people you know that have...
No, I don't know these people.
Oh, you don't even know?
I don't know these people. For three, but I know people. And I've been in this industry, this business for a long time. And I travel the world meeting thousands of people. And not once have I had any of those kind of encounters. It's always been positive, Where are those people at when they have the opportunity to take a shit on my lawn? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just the internet gives life to, I think, a form of sociopathic behavior. A sociopathic person wants to inflict pain and they get a pleasure response from that. You can do it on the internet now. I don't even have to be there. I don't have to throw eggs on your house or flatten your tires. I can, do stuff on the computer now. So it's a whole, me seeing that. A lot of people will never know that experience that exists. But me being on the platform now I'm on, I'm a target, right? Because there's going to be somebody out. There's going to be somebody that don't like me for whatever reason. Yeah. So.
And I guess we've had some. We're in the equipment manufacturing business, and you have a product issue, and somebody hurts themselves, and it can go on social media. It can do huge damage in business, even whether they were using it correctly or not. It can still have a big damage. And I guess with you being such a figurehead, if something goes wrong, even if it's true or not, and people don't get the figures, it potentially, I guess, it could destroy your business. Or do you think?
I don't think it destroy my business. I think it can. I had a really big deal waiting to close that just didn't happen around that time, and I attribute it to that, because it was a foreign company, and I know that they don't understand the English as well, and But when you see my name on news articles, like common sense would think once you read it, I'm not in it at all. It's just for the SEO purposes and just to draw people in. I'm like, literally, there's article after articles that starts with Mike Rashid's gym, but I'm not in this at all. Like,
so how do you turn that around?
I don't worry about it.
You don't worry?
Because I tell people this all the time. I say, like, when you don't like lie, you don't deceive, you don't worry about karma, you just like, everything's good. I have faith that as long as I'm doing the right thing, everything's gonna be fine, and everything's fine. You know, even with that situation, there's people trying to throw me under the bus, throw dirt on my name. I'm like, I did one video explaining the situation, and that was it. Never really, unless somebody asked me about it, I'll talk about it, but I wasn't trying to like campaign to people like, hey guys, I'm not involved in that. Like, no, I'm not. So that's all that needs to be said,
And for big companies that probably, or other companies that sort of face this or trying to get into the social media world and are thinking about that, what would you say that's the best thing, just kind of move on?
This is the thing. You cannot have good without bad. You're not gonna have all sunshine days, it's gonna be rainy days. But guess what? There's always way more sunshine than rain, right? So it's part of life.
You don't live in England.
Right. Or Seattle. Exactly. So I know it's gonna blow over, and the ones that are trying to antagonize the situation, they'll unravel themselves. I used to be a very reactive person. Like, how dare you, whatever. And then what I found was that I was ending up looking like the bad guy, because part of my how dare you is like, I know everything I'm doing is from a good space. So how dare you disrupt that, for one. For two, you're not afraid of what I would do to you? I mean, that's a thought. So, it took a lot of, like, when I would go after people that tried to do wrong by me, I would just look like the bully. You know? So when I stopped doing that, and it was hard to do. Oh my God, it's hard to just fall back and like, let it play out. But I'm seeing people just falling over, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, okay, I know that's the best thing to do, is just to not be reactive. And also that reaction is emotional, and that's never the right thing. It's never good to react emotionally. So I always just fall back. And then as I start falling back, I start really having empathy for these people, like really feeling bad for these people. Like, wow, they gotta really be in a fucked up space to resort to that, because I would never do these kind of things. And I don't even know people that would do these kind of things. Like, do you have a girlfriend? Like, what do they think about, are your friends like, yeah, bro, that was a good one? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just such a bad space that I would never want to be in, that I would never be in regardless. So I would feel bad for these people. So I had to remove myself from the reaction and the emotion.
That's a good point, because you do get emotion. I would get emotional, and particularly when what the truth is. Right. And it's very hard to step back and just, just let the story tell itself on their side. But I think you're right, it probably makes sense, because if you are in your position and you're seen as the sort of stronger one, then that reaction will just inflame even further, I guess.
And you're giving life to like a moron. You're giving them validity, Yeah. So I just refuse. I won't mention these people ever. I would never do a video about. They're not in my world. It's not even. And these people are on the outskirts of what we're doing. They would love to be able to have lines of people exposed. This is why they're angry. You know what I mean? Because they're poking around. They're trying to get in. But they can't, so they resort to these kind of tactics. And it's just like, okay, if that works for you, fine, go ahead, keep using my name. It's okay, cool, whatever.
I think that can apply on a very, very small level, to a very big one. I think those same rules apply even if someone, says something about you, even in a company or whatever. I think it's, if you can take that step back and not react.
Just think about, you encounter people and you meet people and somebody's name come up and somebody always has something bad to say about whoever. You're gonna be like, it's not everybody else, it must be this person, you know what I'm saying? So, I try to not, I feel like here in America, it's a real, we default to negative, right? We're all cynical, and we're all don't trust, and you know, and I just try to not be like that, you know. And it's hard, you know, with that being kind of the culture, it's hard to shake it, but I do. I just try not to, you know, I am still a cynical person. I feel like you have to be successful, to not get duped and taken advantage of. But I am pretty trusting, and I just, you know, take everything. If somebody says X, Y, Z, I believe it until they prove me otherwise, you know. And
I've seen you talk about that on your videos. I think that's generally a good message, even though it's difficult to do. So what about the future for Mike? You know, what do you see the industry going, the fitness side? You know, what do you think's next? What's coming down the line? Where are we going, do you think?
Yeah, I think that, Ambrosia, one of my companies, which I have a partner, Sean Torbati and Mark Lobliner. You know, this was like a dream team for a sports nutrition company, because we have our own individual companies that are very multi-million-dollar companies already, all three of us. So for us to come together and do one, put all of our resources together, the products are, it's as good as it can get. We're maxing out on the science, patented ingredients, which is, you're not gonna find this. You're not gonna find this, you know. All the data, all the research is there. So I believe in this more than anything I've ever done. And the beauty of it is, it's a weird company. It's not the typical pre-workout, you know, it's optimal health, you know, it's organ support. We have products like overtraining solution that supercharges your immune system, cognitive functioning, like you name it. And it's all things that are very needed that people don't pay attention to, right? We live in a macro world when the micro is more important, right? Micronutrition and stuff. So they just don't realize this is as important as it is until we start putting it out there. And so
he's saying it's sort of moving away from the traditional, what you'd see supplements, which is protein and pre-workouts, etc.
Right. And that stuff is fine. But that stuff doesn't equate to health, you know. And what Ambrosia does, it optimizes health. It helps, and it tastes good. Like we're not cutting corners in any capacity. All of our sourcing is not done for margins, it's done for effectiveness, you know, and we're still delivering affordable products. We've had many battles in our war room. Well, this is the war room right here. It looks a little different now. We had many battles about pricing because, you know, it's very justifiable to be charging $90, $100 for a lot of these products, because that would be a typical margin, but we're just not doing it. You know, we're giving people affordable stuff. This was not made out of, like, you know, desperation to make money. Like, we don't take anything out of this company. You know what I mean? It's just everything is making it bigger and bigger. So, you know, we sat down and did taxes a few weeks ago and a couple months ago, and I was like, shit, we made that last year? So we're about to crank it up. And actually
on a positive or a negative side, you mean?
On a positive.
Oh, positive,
great.
Right.
It was a big check we had to write, but it was because, you know, it's always good to have to write a 6-figure check to Uncle Sam, you know what I'm saying?
He wants to be doing something right.
Yeah, so, and for it to be getting this kind of traction without us throwing it out there like crazy. So we're going to tour the globe with Ambrosia. We're starting in Australia in June. So we're going to go all over the country, you know, speaking about it, doing meetups, talking about it, promoting it, getting it out there. And
is that direct to consumer, or where people buy from your website?
Both. Well, we have a distribution partner in Australia, MassiveJoes.com, really good guy, and we move a ton of product through them already. So we're gonna go just ramp it up. We're gonna do this everywhere, you know. And this is like Ambrosia, the concept behind everything. Like Ambrosia.
What does it mean, Ambrosia?
It was food for the gods on Mount Olympus.
Right.
You know, like you're gods and goddesses. You got to put the best stuff in you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, even the imagery is all weird and creative and artistic. That's just like, I'm a big kid, so I like that kind of stuff. So, you know, this is something that we really want to do, and we're doing it. And I think a lot of people are going to catch on. There's already some imitations, you know, with what was it? I can't even think of the name of the company. It starts with an A.
You probably don't want to mention them, but there's...
Yeah, but they try to do the same old English. Cause I did the fonts like the dollar bill and very Illuminati vibe, and like you didn't just think of that, bro. Like we've been out.
Well, that's good, I guess. Yeah,
it is good.
We have the same thing. You know, you come up with a product, someone knocks it off, and you first like, but it
didn't even bother me when I seen it. I was like, oh, they're trying. That's cute because it's not as good, you know. And even if the packaging was as good, my marketing is gonna all be on how effective and how powerful the ingredients in the product is. They can't do that.
And you're also I think and this happens a lot in business, but they're always going to be where you were. You know, you're now somewhere else. So
exactly
that difference, as long as you've got that mindset to keep moving forward.
Exactly. So, and this worldwide tour we're going to do is going to be a game changer for us. It's going to be fun to just travel the world and not in an expo capacity. It's going to be on our own.
Right.
You know, so.
And where can people find out about Ambrosia then?
AmbrosiaNutraceuticals.com.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mental Jewels is the flagship product, which is a very powerful nootropic. Like you can go through the comments, like the reviews, and there's people who were like addicted to Adderall that don't take it anymore because they take Mental Jewels, which is all natural, it's herbal. So it's you know, I'm very proud of it. You know, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I didn't have the knowledge or the resources at the time when I first thought about it. And then, you know, a couple years later, Mark and Sean and I got together and we started talking and it was like, we can do this together. And we started doing it. And like I said, we're throwing everything in. Like we're taking no stops with this. So I'm very proud of it. And I do think that there's going to be a shift in the industry. I'm already seeing the shifts that I like. All right, so I'm a vegan, but I wasn't always a vegan. But even like 2.5, 3 years ago, I decided to come out with a plant-based protein from a sports nutrition meathead, right? And I'm seeing big companies doing that now. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, okay. Y'all are doing it? I'm seeing their athletes who I know, who used to laugh at me, they have to, you know, because their boss is telling them post about this vegan protein. Yeah. And they're like, for any of you guys who like vegan stuff, we have.
Yeah.
It is so
not authentic.
It's not authentic at all. And I'm like, does this still work? Does that work, this kind of marketing? But and we do a lot on like flavoring and stuff like that. So I know it tastes like garbage. I know it's, you know, most vegan protein don't taste good. No. It's just real gritty, it's earthy, you know. And that was something that we worked hard at overcoming. So it's a lot of things that I feel confident in, and I'm just not, I think competition is good. You know, I want somebody to be on my heels so I can run that much faster, right? So, further. But I don't see anything, there isn't a company like Ambrosia. No. It's just not. So somebody's gonna have to start something new or really reformat their whole structure to really compete with us. And we're creating a whole new lane. But I do think the industry is gonna shift in that direction, and I think that's good. Yeah. If there's another Ambrosia, we're like Tesla of the, it is new, it's innovative, and it's needed, it's important. That's what I feel good about with Ambrosia. It's important products. I don't think a pre-workout is important. You know, it's not important. No. But, you know, organ support is important. Yeah. You know, a product that helps with your cognitive functioning is super important. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of what we're doing now.
Yeah, good. So I know you've got a plane to catch. I've just got one more question before you finish. And I could talk the whole afternoon. Right. Still so many things we've not got to. But just the final question. And so Escape Your Limits is about doing something that people or society or anyone says is impossible and making it possible. What would be, I guess, your most memorable example of where you've escaped your own personal limits of something maybe even you doubted was possible?
All right, so, you know, I had, back in 2007, I encountered a situation that put me in a criminal space. I did not think that what I did warranted that. However, the government did. Okay, so I was trying to deal with it, and they were being they're not listening, right? They're not hearing anything I'm saying. So I took it upon myself to abscond from justice. And what that means is I became a fugitive, right? And one thing my stepmother said, I love her to death, she says, if you do that, just know that it's gonna be worse when they catch you. I said, I'll take my chances. So a few years later, they caught me. So everything was stacked against me. You know, on paper, it looked horrible. It always looks horrible on paper, right? Nobody wants to hear what you gotta say. So, you know, during the adjudication process, you know, I still did everything that I was supposed to do, working, you know, doing everything with the kids, marketing my products, shooting YouTube videos, you know. Nobody knew I had the dark cloud over my head that I had, right? But I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna lay down and die to this, you know? Go through the whole process. At the sentencing, the judge said, get out of my courtroom, you're not a criminal. She said, if I was presiding over this case, if this was closer to when this happened, you'd be getting sent to prison. But we see that you're not a criminal, get out of my courtroom. So when you're a fugitive of justice, your sentence is usually enhanced. Right. That's, you know, you've embarrassed the government, you know? They had to spend resources to find you, you know? So you're getting that and with the original charges. So that was an impossible thing, right? But, you know, I wasn't negative about it the whole time. I wasn't crying to anybody about it. You know, I was still working, being a man, and faced it, and it worked out. And I knew I wasn't a bad guy, you know. There was a point when I was absconded that my mind was going into dark places, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is bad. You're gonna go to prison. I would dream about being in prison like every day. You know, it was bad, and my mind was close to going into a really dark space, but it didn't. And you know, and everything worked out. So, you know, when people are going through things, listen, as far as I see it, like my father, he had a quadruple bypass heart attack at one point, right? He's the healthiest guy I know now. Like, people in my life have all been through, like, had a mountain to climb, you know? So I feel like that was my mountain, right? I hope that's the last one. Yeah. And that was my mountain to climb. We all got a mountain to climb. Are you gonna climb it, or are you gonna lay at the base and die? Yeah. And freeze to death or whatever? So a friend of mine said one time, he says, if you in deep water, you gonna swim back to shore, you gonna drown. It's on you. So that was something that I dug deep, laced up my boots, and I worked, I hustled, I grinded, and stayed positive, and it all worked out. So that was my impossible moment.
Yeah, that's probably one of our most interesting answers to that question that I've had. Well, look, Mike, it's been great to spend some time with you. Really appreciate it. And good luck with, losing my voice, good luck with Ambrosia Nutrition.
Thank you.
And we'll be following you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.